Welcome, everybody. Thank you for watching once again. This is the L&C podcast, minus the L. This time Lorenzo can't join us. He took sort of an impromptu vacation. Using up his vacation time is paramount, as he's getting a new job, I think I'm allowed to say, but good for him. We wish him the best, but he'll be back in a couple days to record our next episode. But in the meantime, I'm joined in studio bedroom by a very, very special guest. This is someone I was introduced to a long, long time ago when I recorded a hit single for him, the remaster of one of his original songs. And without further ado, I'll go ahead and put the camera on him. Mr. Johnny Capers Jr. is with us, everybody. Here he is. How's it going, sir?
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
And
the pleasure's mine.
I'm having a good day today.
Well, good.
How's your day?
It's going well. It's going well. You know, after a long day's work, I work full time, so I get home and I look beat. but this is always much, much better than being at my job.
I'm sure.
You know? Hopefully this will be my job someday. That's the goal, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the goal. So you're here. Well, first of all, I didn't realize how close we lived to one another. I'm in Stafford, Virginia, and you're about just, what, 20 minutes away? Yeah, goodness.
And I was so surprised and pleased to know that you were that close.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have to definitely get together after this and start going to events. And I know all kinds of jam sessions that I'm sure you would love to sit in on. Just there's a lot that goes on in this area that I wasn't aware of until fairly recently.
All right.
Yes, sir. But you're here because you have a documentary coming out about just what an astonishing life you've led as a jazz musician and as a local area, but also, I mean, you've been all over the country, right?
All over the world. All
over the world. So I'm really excited to chop it up with you. So I guess I'll launch right in. Growing up, what were some of your big draws to music? Well,
I come from a large family of musicians, sisters and brothers, mm-hmm. And when we were teenagers, we made records for VJ Records, which was a major record company in the 50s and 60s, mm-hmm. and it was called the Capers, and it was 5 of us, and we made several records that's still out there today.
Wow.
And as time moved on, my 3 brothers and I, we were on Roulette Records.
Okay.
And we recorded several records on Roulette, the Caper Brothers. So first it was the family, Capers, then the Caper Brothers. And but I've worked the circuits in the 60s, for example, the 70s. I was busy all over the place. And before I played for President Nixon's inauguration, my orchestra, I worked in Birdland, Metropole Cafe, Village Vanguard. I work all the main places back in the 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. That's as
like a house musician or just
a band,
passing through? Wow.
No, my band.
So you were the house band?
I was
for
the
all
house band. For that week, if
mm-hmm.
it was a week, or if it was for 3 days, it was for 3 days.
Yeah.
Just like Miles, when they come in for 3 or 4 or 5 days, and they move on. And that's how it was back in the day. I didn't get a hit record until I changed my name to Jonathan Capri. And at that time, in 1969, my biggest hit was "Gonna Build Me a Mountain Way Up High," mm-hmm. And that's what the documentary is going to be basically on.
On that song.
On that song.
So that's what I would ultimately end up in studio with the band I was a part of, a member of Infinite Flavor. We'd end up in the Virginia Beach studio recording that song. Wow.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
And you guys did a great job too.
Well, good. We're glad you enjoyed it. And yeah, we can. Is that copyrighted? Do you know?
It's definitely copyrighted. Definitely copyrighted.
Okay, so I couldn't play it on hers.
It's definitely copyrighted. Maybe you can talk to me later about what you want to, what is possible to do without it getting out there and the people wrong people's hands.
Yeah.
Before we can get a deal. You know.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But
we won't preview it here, but there are resources. There's a way to get it online. So if I can find that a way you can get it online in an ethical way, if that's the right word, just so you know, so it's not being misused or anything outside of the copyright. I'll include that link in the upload of this video. But
it's copyrighted. We're good.
You're good to go. Well, excellent. For sure. Glad you're getting royalties or whatever comes your way from that.
And that's what we're hoping for. That's why we're trying to get to Netflix. But going back, you know, I worked the circuit. When the Beatles came here in '64, most jazz musicians had to go abroad in order to eat, and so I did that scene all over abroad, and then all the islands, you name them, and I was a working musician. I had done a lot of stuff, as most musicians who's aspiring to be whoever they want to be, a big shot or at the top of the list. But it wasn't always easy, and so fortunately for me, I always had a little something I could work with. So I had a couple of businesses on the side while I was pushing my music. I did a lot of stuff.
Yeah. They call that a side hustle.
Yeah,
having a few side hustles.
And then I played trumpet for Sarah for 4 to 5 months. I worked the circuit with all the stars back in the day.
You played trumpet for who?
Sarah.
Sarah
Vaughan.
Sarah Vaughan. Yeah. No kidding.
Yes. And back in the 60s.
Wow, the divine one, right?
The divine, Sassy.
Sassy,
and so I worked with Guy Lombardo as a vocalist. I did the scene with Red Fox. It's in the documentary. It's just a lot of stuff. It's on the internet also. So I did a lot of stuff, but it's come to a point now where as a jazz musician, I have a couple of albums out there. It's been out there for a while, and a few singles and so forth and so on. I've just been a working musician.
Yes, you
But
have.
when somebody found out about me through Juanita Wynn, and in London, they called Juanita up and say, Johnny Capri Jr., he's also Jonathan Capri. And then the conversation came from there, and they said, well, you know, this guy's records are going for $8,000 and $10,000. And I said to myself, what? And I have nothing in my pocket. But anyway, I did the circuits for years and years and years. So Juanita came up with the idea after she spoke with the agent in London. She said, well, you guys need to do documentary on his life and his story about the song, where they're still selling it today. It's been put out by 4 different companies. The one that I did in 1970, Gonna Build Me a Mountain. So I haven't been paid for any of that stuff, and that's part of the talk in the documentary too. Not too much, but it's in there.
But fighting for your right to ownership, right of ownership over this product. So that's just it's a succinct point that I'm making with you. But there was so much more, you know. But I'm excited with this documentary. It's been going through a lot of work. And finally, it's pretty much there. It's pretty much there. Well, I'm happy to see that it's coming along, and I'm excited for the finished product. I did see a preview. You streamed to me with your producer a preview of the documentary in its early stages, and it looked like there was something there. I'm really excited for it. So, and it seems like from what I'm hearing, it's undergone a few edits, and
big time.
It's almost totally different now. So. And that's just how it goes. From what I know about the process, it's pretty arduous. So
it is.
It'll take on several forms, I'm sure, right?
And some of the musicians that were in it, and people that were in it, they're no longer in it because it was a matter of time and getting what was necessary.
Does it have to be within an hour? That's what
this producer is saying.
Okay.
She's saying within an hour. Of course, we were up to an hour and 50 minutes, or 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But she's saying, since her name is Michelle Hardy. She's the executive producer for Lace. It's a series called Lace.
Oh, gotcha.
And she's the one who's working with us right now.
Okay.
She feels that the documentary has a lot to offer because
well, shout out to Michelle. Thank you for believing in this project.
Right.
I wanted to, as far back as you can remember, what did you start out on trumpet musically?
My father gave me a trumpet at 5.
At 5, goodness.
And he told me that this is what you're going to do, and I want you to practice at least an hour and a half every day. And you know, as a little kid, you want to go out and play.
Yeah.
You know, and that, you're not that excited about a trumpet.
I know all about it.
And you got to practice an hour and a half every day. And so once I went through that scene, and it paid off in the end when I got my first big gig in Chi at the hotel in the Loop. It was my band, and things started happening. I mean, and in addition to that, I was gigging in D.C. I was living in D.C., Silver Spring, and I had a couple of businesses on Georgia Avenue.
Okay.
And back in the day, and I was working at a club called the Judge's Inn, and Roberta Flack was across the street at Mr. Henry's.
Wow. And
this guy walked in, and he said, I'd like you to play for President Nixon. And I said, sure, but that's what it turned out to be. So I had to extend my band and
fill it out,
and played. That was a gig. Now that's a gig just before. No, that was a gig after I changed my name, and I said to myself, "This is it now. I know I'm on my way."
Yeah,
and, you know, playing for the president and so forth and so on. But it never really went where I was hoping it would go. And still working, gigging, grinding. So I think I've been grinding most of my life. But I've been pretty lucky. When I was grinding, I also had a business or so going on. You know, so trying to make some extra change, and then working studio. I did a lot of studio work.
The businesses on Georgia Avenue, what were those? What were your businesses on Georgia Avenue?
I had a J&M employment agency for musicians.
Okay.
And I'm going way back.
Yeah.
J&M employment agency with musicians.
Wow.
Yeah, and so there's so many things I did back in the day. It's unbelievable. But
were you anyone's agent in particular? Or
I had the J&M was an employment agency for musicians. And you're looking for a job, come on in, because I had all the companies and so forth.
Oh, okay.
They would call me and say, we're looking for a piano player that does this, or whatever the situation may be.
Was it just like a talent agency?
It's talent agency.
So did you have any popular clients or who would go on to acclaim?
I can't say I had, they're all popular.
Yeah. Locally, right?
Yeah, they're all popular, but no one that made it big.
Okay.
No one that made it big. The only one that made it big, I told you, I come from a real musical family, and my brother was with the main ingredients. And when my brother and Cuba were young, about 20 years old, I used to manage them.
Oh, wow.
And before he became famous. So, you know, it's you just never know which way things are going to go.
You really don't. You really don't. It's fascinating to me to hear, you know, you're talking about Roberta Flack's right across the street from you.
Yeah, Judges Inn.
Judges Inn, right in the heart of D.C.
Yeah.
I'm doing comedy, right? I'm doing stand-up comedy in these dive bars. I was just on Georgia Avenue on Wednesday night last week at this place called Simple Bar, doing an open mic to, you know, just a handful of people. But it's these same people that go on to tour later, or they go on to put on these big giant events and blow up out of nowhere. And it really, those sorts of meetups and just by coincidence
leads into a lot of stuff.
They lead into big opportunities.
Absolutely. So you don't look at it and ignore it. It's everything's important when you're a musician. Everything's important.
And that's why you remember it all so clearly, because it's you look back at it, it's like that's what led you to this point.
Absolutely.
You being out there, you grinding, you meeting people, shaking hands,
and there's so many things that's happened in my life. Before I came to Virginia, I had a nightclub in Bisbee, Arizona, a big nightclub, and it was called Johnny Capers Jr. Jazz Club.
Wow!
And it was in Bisbee, and that's 10 years ago. And I closed it down. And I ended up in Virginia Beach and opened a big music studio there. And there's always something happening. I never give up. That's my MO. I never give up.
No,
and I suggest that to most good musicians, if they're aspiring to be at the top of the list, don't give up, but know your stuff.
Oh, certainly. No, don't give up. But it's a testament to your ability to pivot. To say you're able to operate in a certain field. In this case, it's music, and you're operating in it from every aspect. You're a performer. I'm sure a performer first, right? That's what you enjoy doing, is performing,
Absolutely. Putting
on a great show. But then you're a producer, and then you're a talent scouter, but you have a talent agency. You've now you have a recording studio in Virginia Beach, like you said. You've had clubs, your own clubs, in different states. I mean, it's really an astounding legacy you've led up to this point, and it's something to be proud of. That the documentary will no doubt showcase
right? That for sure.
So coming up, you got your trumpet when you were 5. You practiced whether you liked it or not,
and that was kind of tough because, like I said, I wanted to go out and play, but it was 10 of us, and the other 5, they had to harmonize until midnight. And there was 8, 9, 10, and 12. And so my father, who played with Duke Ellington, played trumpet with Duke Ellington, he was heavy. Okay. He believed in corporal punishment and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
So you were going to practice.
Very, very high expectations.
Right. And I appreciate it later on, but the grind, and especially about this documentary, I'm talking from 5 years old, and chronicle all the stuff that I went through up to this age. And I'm no young dude anymore, but I can still get on the stage and throw down,
Yes.
And that's what's important.
Yes.
Knowing that you still feel that you got it.
I just the other day I went. I got invited by this comedian in Richmond to go participate in a jam session being led by this local staple. Her name's Lady E. I'd never heard of her before, just because she's such a fixture on Carey Street and in Richmond right now. But she's, I want to say she's 81 years old, all over the room, getting people, grabbing them, making them get up and dance, and, yelling Beautiful. And screaming at people to, get the energy up. She had more energy than the entire room combined, and just belting out just some of the best blues I've witnessed in the last several years, right? I mean,
that's what it's all about.
Yes.
I don't know whether you ever worked with a comedian called Carr.
Carr.
C-A-R, I don't know. He's very popular in Virginia Beach area, and I'm sure many other areas.
Just one name, Carr?
No, there's another name. I can't think of his second name, but he's big.
Yeah.
And because I had him on one of my shows when I was at DUI in Norwalk. What's the university there, college down there?
In Norfolk?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
But, they did a lot of college shows there.
Yeah.
And since you're into comedy, I thought that you would ask. I forgot his first name.
Yeah, no. If we remember his first name, I can look him up and then figure it out. I'll tell you what, because I produce my own events now. I meet so many people in a week.
You can imagine.
I lose track. I
can imagine.
But this guy, he sounds like he's been doing it a while. And,
he has.
And I'm relatively new, so chances are we haven't crossed paths yet.
Okay.
But it's somebody I may have seen or definitely heard of.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of stuff. But it's been a grind, and this business is a grind, and until you make it.
All of entertainment, I'm learning is
it's a grind, and so having worked with concerts with the biggest performers and stars of the past. I'm never without something good to think about, musically speaking.
Yeah.
There's always something good to think about, and it's just so many things. I remember when I was my brother's manager, and I had him booked at the Apollo Theater with Smokey many years ago. Like I said, so many things. It's difficult to talk about myself when I have so many family members who did a lot of stuff musically on a high level. But like I was told, this one is about you. Smokey, yeah, we did him with my brother for a week at the Apollo Theater. He's still hanging in there. Smokey's still hanging in there.
So that was just a week, right? So
1 week at the Apollo.
It's in passing for him, but has he ever reached out, or have you ever connected after?
Not really. These people, they get into their own bag.
Yeah.
And they don't remember you too much later on.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
Only a few people remember you who made it to the top.
Yeah,
but
there's even people, not to keep bringing it back to comedy, but the parallels in all these different art forms and in entertainment are there.
Absolutely.
There's people I've witnessed in just the last year that they get like one clip, or they take off in some way. They go crazy. They move to another state and they carve out their own little dominion and they're gone, just like that in a flash. But you're lucky to get a couple photos with with someone before they skip town.
That's to be expected because people are basically in this business. They're looking out for themselves. Yeah, and you're lucky when you have a buddy who's also looking out for you. You know, and but that's the nature of the business, and that's why you try to be the best that you can be, because then somebody's gonna call you. Yes,
yeah, and you had it right too. The best piece of advice I ever got in entertainment was to make your own work. I mean, does that resonate with you?
Absolutely.
If you're not the one out there producing events, putting bands together, booking gigs yourself, no one else is going to advocate for you. And you did a great thing too by platforming so many great people, I'm sure, with your different venues and with your different production companies. Now with your recording studio, you're giving people an opportunity to be seen and to be heard in ways that I'm sure they couldn't imagine, beforehand.
Absolutely.
And you've always done that.
And that's a beautiful thing, and I've been asked, what's the most important thing for you in this business here? And that the answer was giving back, So I was mentoring a lot of people in Virginia Beach in my studio there, a lot of young artists, and that's why I was recording a lot of artists. Put out a couple of records, compilations from 5 artists, and out of NYLA Records. Yeah, the compilation there. So I was busy, did a lot of things, worked with a lot of people, and it's all good memory. And now I'm trying to see if I can put my history out there. My documentary out there, so people know who I was. I
mean, you're able to look back at it all fondly. I mean, why hog that to yourself? Like you said, give back. This is great. This is a great window into a.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that hardens me, makes my heart go in the right direction, knowing that I've given and still trying to give. But I like to get paid for some of the stuff I put out there.
Well, definitely. You deserve credit.
That's for sure.
You deserve recognition. Yeah. Now's the time to collect, right?
It's that time. So, so I'm good. I'm not complaining too much about anything. I just want to get that documentary out there.
And it's not complaining either. I mean, don't look at this and think, oh, this guy's just, he's feeling salty, or he's feeling, looked over, that he hasn't been recognized for playing at at a presidential inauguration, or for being a trumpet player for Sarah Vaughan, or for any number of, or for playing with Smokey Robinson for a week, any number of shoulders you brushed up against that you haven't gotten your due. No, that's not what you're saying. What you're saying is you've had to work your entire life to carve out what you have, and making this documentary is a testament to the hard work that the work and sacrifice that you've committed to a field that you so love and enjoy, right?
Absolutely. And then I was very fortunate, if you don't mind me saying, to have you as one of the musicians in my documentary on my hit song that I had back in the late 60s.
Yeah.
And it was just a pleasure. And you were just a young whippersnapper at the time, and you were told that, but you didn't.
Oh, please.
That didn't go over too well. I was so pleased to have you there.
I only wish that. So I'm in the documentary very briefly. When we recorded your song, "Gonna Build Me a Mountain," way up high, you did a little like confessional type interviews in another room in your recording studio, and I was paired up with the saxophone player Al Wheel. Al's a phenomenal saxophonist out of Hampton, Newport News, who's still playing. He's again outstanding. Look him up.
Yes.
But you were, or we were being interviewed, just kind of basic questions similar to what I'm asking you now. Funny enough, but how long you've been playing for, your inspirations, things like that. And one of the remarks by the interviewer was that I was really young to be saying the things I was saying.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
And I remarked before we started this, because you brought that up to me. I said, well, what I wouldn't give to be called young again, because when I go out to these events and I'm the one emceeing and hosting and booking everything, people automatically assume I'm like 38 or 40 years old.
I don't see how they think that.
I have no clue.
I can't see how they...
What I wouldn't give to be called my age. I'm only 24.
Yeah.
So I'd love to go back in that time machine.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing how people look at you.
Here's your single online here. I found it on Spotify.
Oh,
so I don't know if you're getting... I think that you've published this, or somebody working for you has. But this is online, so you can listen to it here. We won't play it because I don't want the video to be claimed by your company. But here it is online. Here's where you can find it, and I'll put a link to this song online. I think this is so it's actually copyrighted here, 2020 NYLA Records. So this is the recording that I'm on, that our band played for you. This is the very thing, and what the documentary is about. So is the documentary about how you created the song and then leading up to the re-recording of it?
Well, I was asked what made me think of this particular song, and I said I wasn't in a gloomy state, but I wanted to do something. I wanted to write something that was telling who I was at the time, and that's what came up in my mind, the words to that song. And I'm going to build me a mountain. I'm going to get away. I don't know what I'm going to tell my mother and father, but this mountain is going to be way out of here. Yeah. It's something to that effect, And
just for anybody watching, listening, those are the lyrics to the song, and it tells a story, right?
It's definitely a story.
It's a great analogy. It's the great subject of a documentary, because the song almost explains in so many words your whole life up to this point,
Absolutely.
Here you are on the mountaintop, with all your accomplishments and accolades, every experience, everything. And it's going to be a great product, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
The Russell, who's my editor, he's doing a great job.
Yeah, Russell, great guy.
He's been a gift. And sometimes you run into a situation like this.
Yeah, well, you need people to help you build that mountain, right?
Exactly.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'd love to have someone like Russell in, in my corner.
I tell you, he'll do anything for you.
Oh, good, good.
You got a friend over there.
Oh man, great guy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else big we should hit on before we let you go. I could sit here and talk to you all day about just all the little anecdotes and stories you have.
So many stories.
Oh my gosh. You're going to come back, right? We'll do this again at some point.
You invite me.
There's not a gun to your head.
I'll be more than,
for the record.
I'll be more than pleased. I'm more than pleased. Absolutely.
Oh boy.
It's always a pleasure to be around people who are in the business also and understand nuances and all the other little things that come in between doing what you're doing.
What this will be hard, I'm sure, to answer, so feel free to take your time, but what would you say of all the events you've played, all the shows you've ever booked, what's either the most memorable or what you consider your crowning achievement?
I believe performing for the president. I had a 7-piece group, and the guy wanted me to add 5 more pieces, and so that was for me a great moment, because I had aspirations. I was making plans because I know this was going to be it. This was the thing that was going to take me up to the mountain top. But it didn't work that way. But other things happened, and it was positive. The song that I wrote, it did very well, especially all over Europe, and I made a lot of money on that song, and it's still making money, but I'm not getting paid for it.
Yeah,
you see, at least 4 or 5 people put it out already, the same record. But I've had other things out there, singles and so forth. But I've always been in a grinding state. You're always grinding, but that's okay if it's going to get me to where I need to go. I don't mind the grind.
What was how would you describe getting the opportunity to play for the president, and then getting to what I assume you're in the White House, right? Playing, because they have a little ballroom that you're playing, right? Yes. What was it at? You were just at your club, and someone taps you and goes, "Hey."
I was at the Judges Inn.
On George Avenue,
right, in D.C. And Roberta Frack, like I said, was across the street at Mr. Henry's. And that's before she was tapped.
Really?
By somebody who came in and started crying when they saw her sing and so forth.
Yeah.
And that's when she got a break.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so somebody comes and taps you. Was this, I assume they're just scouting for people? They had White House staffers and people just out.
I tell you, I really don't even know who the person was.
Really?
To be honest with you. It's been so many years, 72, but still, some things you should remember. But when you don't when your mind is not always on time,
and it's spur of the moment, you're thinking, oh, how can we action this? Let's get it done. So,
feverishly working on extending the band and so forth and so on. And
do you remember any of the band members at the time? Any of their names?
It's funny that you asked me. The bass player, his name was Swiss Chu, and I've been looking for him for the last 5 days, but I haven't been fortunate enough. But that's the only name I remember. And Jonathan Capri and Mad Dog. That was the group that played for the President's Group.
Oh, the name of the group was Mad Dog.
Jonathan Capri, that's me, and Mad Dog.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's. I would love to meet 1 or 2 of the guys, especially if something goes well with the documentary.
Yeah, maybe they'll see it. Maybe they can reach out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That'd be beautiful.
Oh, boy. Well, we've come up on half an hour here, so I won't keep you much longer. Is there anything else we should know in advance of your documentary coming out? Anything of note? Anything to expect? Any surprises?
Well, I think what one should expect is a good documentary giving future artists, those who are aspiring to be in the business, what it's going to be like to try to make it.
Yeah.
And and chronicling all that. You need to be here. You need to be here, and whatever. You think you're good. There's a million people like you that's good. And by the way, because you're good, don't mean that you're gonna make it.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is be very good at what you do. If you're aspiring to be the top dog.
That's good advice. Yeah.
And don't give up.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you're here, ready to give so much advice to the listeners, viewers on how to make it in this industry. That's really just a great tool that we're grateful that you're willing to give. Usually at the end of these episodes, I do this podcast with a good friend of mine named Lorenzo Taylor, and at the end of each episode, he usually gives the audience some advice based around anything we were talking about during the show. So we'll go ahead and play the theme song to the outro here, and I'd like, if you're willing, just to give some advice like you've been doing, give advice to the listener on how to make it in this industry, any tips, tricks you might have employed. So we'll do that in just a moment here, but once again, I want to thank you, Mr. Johnny Capers Jr., for joining us on the LNC podcast. I'll put up on the screen here your Spotify
and plus
listings.
May I say one more thing?
No, please, absolutely.
We have a big song in the documentary called "Think It's Gonna Rain."
Okay.
By Jonathan Capri and Juanita Wynn. Beautiful song.
Let's see if it's on here, actually. So here is your Spotify pulled up. Yep, here it is, the single, 2019 single, Think It's Gonna Rain. I won't play it, but here's that. Yep, featuring Juanita Wynn. Here it is on Spotify. I'll link to your music listings online. I'll link to that in the description of this video. I'll put a link to really, you have a discography page. I'll link to all of your resources. We'll have in the description below the video. So please, folks, check that out. Get all the Johnny Capers Jr. you can get now in advance of the documentary. So when it comes out, you're ready to go. You know what to expect and what to look for. And I think that pretty much covers everything. So let's go ahead and kick it off. If you could give us some advice about, like I said, any number of things relating to the industry, please go for it.
Well, if you're a woman in the industry, don't get excited by anybody who's talking to you unless you know exactly who they are. And this is a business, especially if you're a woman and over anxious to make it, where you get jammed up many times before you even get the opportunity to do anything positive. Take your time. Make sure you know who's who. And get information on the people, because everybody have a game, for the most part, for women. If you're aspiring to be a singer.
Yeah.
And
women or anyone who's kind of vulnerable, would you say, right?
Male or female.
Yeah, anybody can get taken advantage of and be put through the ringer, So,
anybody.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, exactly right. If you're someone who's vulnerable, if you're too eager, be skeptical, right?
You better be.
Healthy bit of skepticism when somebody gives you an offer for something. Oh my gosh.
You better, because I can imagine if my daughter was aspiring to be a singer out there, I would want to be with her every 5 minutes.
Yes.
I know that's not practical,
No, but
that's how scary the business can be.
There's someone on every corner waiting to take advantage of you.
Absolutely.
To waste your time, and they'll get all the benefit, and you get nothing, right?
And the other thing is, if you have any music that you write, before you let anybody hear it, copyright it.
Yeah, that's
copyright it.
Bit of advice right
You
there.
can do a poor man's copy if you want to. These have something put away. But copyright your stuff, because there are people like me who can hear your song just sitting in a chair and write it on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, 2 months later, it's on the air.
They're the one on the radio.
Yeah.
They're the one
So copyright
online.
your stuff. Don't be too anxious. Protect yourself. And those are some of the things that I might have made a mistake on back in my youth, not doing certain things and not following up on what happened 25 years later, because things change from the time I was operating as cap and many other things where you can get your money. They changed some of the rules 25, 30 years ago.
Yes.
And so if you wasn't hip to what that was happening, you're out. You're out.
Yeah, don't be, forgive my language, pardon the expression, but shit out of luck.
Right. Right.
When you put out a hit song and someone else, pulls the rug out from under you and takes it.
And I lost the tape. The
original.
I lost the originals.
Wow.
You see? And so you got to go to the courts and so forth and so on.
Oh boy. Well, all great tips for the listeners, I'm sure. Please comment below what you liked about the podcast. If you're excited about the documentary, please let us know. And be on the lookout for Mr. Johnny here, because he's going to be doing the podcast rounds in our area. So once you search his name, you'll see him giving interviews in advance of the documentary coming out. And I appreciate you stopping here first. That means the world to us here, to Lorenzo and I. And with that, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please like, subscribe, all that good jazz. We're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, as you know. And we'll see you on the next one. Lorenzo will be back in a few days. So for those of you wondering, and once again, thank you, Johnny, and bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.